pressed too hard. I could feel it.
Forget it.
That jury was on my mind. I should have concentrated more on what you were saying.
Please, Rod, forget it.
Those 12 people, they don't seem to smile or frown or react. They just sit there.
Stop it.
Stop thinking about it? Sure.
Why not?
How, Steven? Tell me how.
I had a client in Boston once who went down to the gym during a recess in his testimony. Swam 40 laps, came back exhausted. But for an hour, he forgot.
Okay, you made your point. I'm sorry. Anyone for tennis?
Sailing? I'd better make that ice sailing.
Indoor sports, that's the thing.
Oh?
Oh, come on now. You both know perfectly well what I mean.
I'll enjoy hearing this explanation.
All right. Let's play a game. Now, you pick someone, some person, and you keep it to yourself. And the others have to guess who it is by asking questions about that person's taste and what he likes.
Categories.
Well, let's play it once.
Why not?
Who'll be it?
How about you, Rod?
All right.
You got someone?
Fire away.
Is it a he or a she? Oh, you can ask that.
We're playing beginner's rules.
Ah, it's a he.
If I were Mr. X, what kind of suit would I buy?
A gray one.
What style?
Last year's, nothing too sharp.
Would I read books?
Mm-hmm.
What kind?
Adventure stories.
Free guess.
Go.
Elliot Carson.
Nope.
Oh. What would be my favorite color?
Kind of a sickly brown.
Would I keep a pet?
If you did, it would be a parakeet.
A parakeet?
But you wouldn't teach it to talk.
What if it squawked?
It'd learn not to.
I'm pretty big on discipline, huh?
You run a real taut ship.
Somehow I can't think of your grandfather with a parakeet.
It's not my grandfather.
Oh, do I like music?
You feel it has its place.
Popular music?
If it's an old hit like a waltz or a stodgy foxtrot.
What's my taste in art?
Terrible. Stuffy portraits and dull landscapes. At least that's what you hang where other people can see.
Oh, so I have a private life.
Oh, I'd bet on it. Once a year, you take off for a weekend and you dress up in wild sports clothes and you become a real nightlife Charlie. You dance the jerk with a girl young enough to be your daughter and you hint to her that you're really a big hood from Chicago.
I give up. Who is it?
The judge. Judge Jessup.
This is the block and tackle already introduced into evidence as Exhibit A for the defense. Mr. Harrington, would you please tell the court what part this block and tackle played in your encounter with Joe Chernock on the night of July 16th?
Yes, I knew Joe hung out on the wharf, and I went there to see if I could find him. It was dark. I didn't see him anywhere. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw this block and tackle coming at me. I ducked. It missed my head and glanced off my shoulder.
Approximately where were you standing when you saw this block and tackle coming at you?
Right there at the corner of the landing.
Here?
Yes.
And where did the block and tackle come from?
From the boat there.
This one?
Yes. I looked up and saw Joe standing on the boat.
So you were walking along here looking for Joe on a peaceful mission of diplomacy. Then without provocation, he hurled his 15-pound weight with a 6-inch hook directly at you.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel for the defense is aware it has not been established the deceased hurled anything at the witness.
Sustained. The jury will disregard Mr. Cord's remark.
What did Joe do after this instrument struck you?
He just grinned. Then he climbed down off the boat and he came up to me.
What happened after he got down?
I told him I wanted him to come with me and talk to Norman. He refused and threw a punch at me.
And then you fought?
Yes.
Did you use a weapon against him at any time?
I did not.
Did he use one against you?
Yes, he got a lobster crate. He threw it at me. I ducked it, and he grabbed that gaffing hook.
This gaffing hook?
Yes. He came at me with it. We struggled. I got it away from him.
Then what happened?
Well, I said, I don't need this, and I threw it away.
You threw it away?
Yes.
Where exactly did you throw it?
Over the top of his head.
Would you please tell the court why, in getting rid of it, you didn't just simply drop it at your side?
Well, he had already come at me with it once. I didn't want it lying around where he could get it again.
Well, that explains why you threw it into the sea, but not why you threw it over Joe's head. Or in his direction at all.
What's Steven doing?
Would you like me
The
to
question
repeat the
can't be avoided. If Steven doesn't ask it, Fowler will.
Why, it was because I was facing in his direction.
Are you sure that was the only reason?
I guess I wanted to show Joe what I could have done if I wanted to fight his way.
But it didn't hit him.
It didn't hit him.
It didn't come close to hitting him.
It was way over his head.
You were named for the all-state team when you played baseball for PEYTON High School, weren't you?
Yes.
You must have a pretty good arm. If you'd wanted to hit Joe with this gaffing hook, could you?
I think so.
Did you try?
No. It was way over his head.
Then you wrestled this gaffing hook away from him purely for defensive measures. At the same time, declaring you had no intention of using it against him.
Yes.
Your witness.
Mr. Harrington, in cases of this gravity, it's not unusual for there to be some inconsistencies in the testimony presented. I'd like you to answer a simple yes or no to a few questions.
Of course.
Did you hear the deceased sister testify that on the day of his death, you came to their family home and threatened to kill her brother?
Yes.
And did you subsequently testify that you did not make this threat?
Yes.
Have you also testified that when you first met with Joe Chernick on the wharf, he threw a block and tackle at you, which narrowly missed your head?
Yes.
Isn't it true that there's no mention of this block and tackle in the voluntary statement you made on the night of Joe's death?
Yes, but...
A simple yes will do.
Yes.
Well, how do you account for the fact that a few hours after the incident, with your shoulders still presumably smarting from the blow that such an object would have delivered, you failed to mention it, particularly if you saw it as an aggressive act?
Well, I was upset when I made that statement.
I'm sure you were. Mr. Harrington, Joe Chernick lived only about a block away from the spot where he died, isn't that true?
Yes.
And in order to find him there, you had to come halfway across town, isn't that true?
Yes.
And yet you still insist that he was the aggressor?
Yes.
Well, tell me this. If you hadn't come halfway across town to meet Joe Chernick, do you think there would have been a fight that night?
Of course not, but...
But you did come, and there was a fight, and Joe died.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Harrington, inasmuch as Joe died as a result of your throwing a gaffing hook in his direction, whether you hit him with it or not, and in view of the answers you have just given, is it still your honest testimony that Joe Chernick's death was an accident? Mr. Harrington.
Yes.
Let me repeat the question. Is it still your honest testimony that Joe Chernick's death was an accident?
Preview from the continuing story of Peyton Place.
Is loving your child enough to keep a bad marriage together?
I've asked myself.
Why couldn't we ask each other?
Your mother and I are going to fight with everything we have to keep you here. Are you ready to face that kind of a battle?
Betty, honey, I know how you feel, but don't you see I can't help? It's your decision now.